The world as we know it is about to be shaken to its core. Gas prices, the lifeblood of our daily existence, are spiraling out of control. Supply lines, once robust, now falter as geopolitical forces pull at the seams of our energy infrastructure. An impending crisis is looming on the horizon, one that experts now say will cause a seismic shift, have a domino effect that'll ripple through the global markets, and drive fuel prices to unprecedented heights. Join us as we uncover the shocking truth and expose the hidden agendas behind the gas prices that are about to go haywire. But before we dive right in, be sure to do good by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Now, let's get back to business. According to experts in North America, the price of a gallon of regular gasoline has gone up by 21 cents compared to just a month ago. This surge in prices is bringing them closer to the $5 mark. In California, drivers are now paying a whopping $4.91.5 per gallon, while gas prices have reached $4.78 in Hawaii. Arizona and Washington aren't far behind, with prices above $4.50. These numbers are causing a stir among Americans filling up at the pump. Patrick DeHaan, the head of petroleum analysis at GasBuddy, explained that gasoline prices have been climbing recently due to some issues at refineries and a low supply of gasoline. He predicts that the national average will soar even higher, especially if unexpected refinery outages occur if a major hurricane hits or an exciting economic development takes place. To make matters worse, passing the debt ceiling through Congress is expected to keep fuel demand strong throughout the summer, pushing gas prices even higher. On top of that, the recent announcement by OPEC+, representing 23 oil exporting countries about cutting crude oil production for the rest of the year, has caused the U.S. Energy Information Administration to revise its Brent crude oil price forecast for the second time this year. Now, they expect the cost of a barrel of Brent crude to reach a staggering $85 in the coming months, which is almost $10 higher than the current prices. This news is bound to have a significant impact on the overall price of gasoline. The impact of rising crude oil prices on gasoline prices in the United States cannot be underestimated. According to Andrew Gross, an expert in the industry, once the cost of crude oil surpasses the $80 per barrel mark, we can expect a significant and dramatic increase in what we pay at the pump. However, industry insiders have revealed an even scarier possibility: the potential for Brent crude to exceed $100 per barrel. James Davis, the director of short-term global oil services and head of upstream oil at FGE, expressed this concern during an interview with Rig Zone. He stated that it is increasingly likely that Brent crude will reach $100 per barrel this year, especially considering the planned extra voluntary cuts of 1.15 million barrels per day by various OPEC+ members. The anticipation of a tighter gasoline market and a warning from the Saudi energy minister about potential further OPEC+ output cuts have already caused oil prices to rise. The fear of a supply shortage is spreading throughout the entire industry, exacerbated by Saudi officials vowing to keep an eye on U.S. short sellers who bet that prices will fall. This development adds more uncertainty and volatility to the market. To make matters worse, national gasoline inventories have dropped for the third consecutive week, reaching their lowest levels for this time of year since 2014. This decline in inventories further tightens the gasoline market, increasing the pressure on prices. In addition to the previous factors affecting gasoline prices, there are more concerning developments in the fuel oil production landscape. Total U.S. fuel oil production is projected to decrease this month, following a significant drop last week, the largest decline since February 2022, as revealed by data from the U.S. Energy Information Administration, EIA. The Gulf Coast and East Coast refineries have been leading this downward trend, with a 15% and 9% reduction in fuel oil production this month. While the average price of a gallon of gas is currently lower than it was a year ago, analysts warn that this trend may not last much longer. They predict that prices could potentially double in the near term, putting a strain on people's budgets and reducing their purchasing power for other necessities. The International Energy Agency expressed concerns about the impact of rising prices on economic recovery and growth. They emphasized that customers already grappling with inflated prices for essential items will now have to stretch their budgets even further. This situation has significant implications for the overall well-being of individuals and the economy's stability. Interestingly, the composition of gasoline can vary depending on the season. Summer gas, although more expensive to produce, produces fewer emissions. On the other hand, cheaper winter gas ignites more easily in cold temperatures, making it suitable for starting cars in chilly weather. As warm weather arrives, more drivers hit the road, leading to increased demand for gasoline. And when demand rises, gas prices tend to follow suit. Experts such as St. Anthony and Finnegas, spokespersons for AAA, warn that peak gasoline demand often signals the arrival of price increases and challenges for drivers. This situation could also contribute to stickier inflation, posing challenges for policymakers aiming to control price stability. When inventories begin to dwindle and people observe rapid price increases, hoarding fuel is common. This phenomenon was witnessed in 2021 when Americans experienced long queues outside gas stations due to supply disruptions and higher cost. Similarly, this year, a single extreme weather event left 7 states without fuel, causing significant inconvenience and panic among residents. The repercussions of the gasoline crisis have extended to various states, including Virginia and North Carolina, where a state of emergency was declared to prevent the situation from spiraling out of control. The fear of missing out on fuel was palpable, as expressed by a woman waiting in line for gas during an interview with CBS. She emphasized the significance of not being the one left without gas amidst the crisis. In a more recent incident, the entire Miami-Fort Lauderdale area faced an immense gasoline shortage following a historic storm that caused widespread flooding. The aftermath triggered a frenzy of panic buying, with drivers filling their gas tanks hurriedly. Astonishingly, over half of the gas stations in the Miami-Fort Lauderdale area were left completely devoid of gasoline. Data from GasBuddy revealed that a staggering 59% of stations in the region had no fuel available. Even in Key West, which is located 3.5 to 4 hours or more away from Port Everglades, the situation was dire. DeHaan's Quick Check on Roosevelt Boulevard was unable to offer any fuel to its customers, leaving them disappointed. "It's scaling us down to zero," commented Timothy Pate, DeHaan's employee, as he entered zero as the fuel quantity, an unprecedented occurrence. Delivery delays significantly exacerbated the crisis, causing additional frustration and hardship for gas station owners. The station faced major delays in receiving fuel shipments, which took weeks to normalize. Another DeHaan employee, David Bloom, shared his astonishment, stating, "I've never experienced anything like this over a rainstorm. The situation was unprecedented and demonstrated the vulnerability of the fuel supply chain." Driver Mike Farrell stressed that the shortages and closures intensified due to a surge in demand caused by drivers rushing to the few remaining open gas stations. Unfortunately, this scenario is likely to repeat itself during the summer months, as people tend to panic and rush to fill their tanks when they witness long lines at gas stations. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where the perception of scarcity drives even more demand. Tom Klotz, the global head of energy analysis for Opus, which tracks gas prices for AAA, remarked that people tend to lose their composure when faced with closed gas pumps at a station. This observation highlights the psychological impact of scarcity and the panic it induces among consumers. The prevailing atmosphere is one of panic and uncertainty, as people are unwilling to give up their mobility. Gas stations are grappling with shallow inventories of gasoline, necessitating deliveries every 2 or 3 days. The phenomenon of panic buying, which exacerbates shortages, gains momentum once the public becomes aware of potential supply interruptions. This was witnessed following the ransomware attack that shut down the Colonial Pipeline in 2021, causing widespread fuel shortages. Moreover, recent research conducted by Carnegie Mellon University revealed alarming vulnerabilities in U.S. gas pipelines. The study, published in the Electricity Journal, emphasized the risk of widespread outages. U.S. officials urged urgent action was needed to address the issue before supplies reached dangerously low levels. The researchers delved into vulnerabilities at production sites and outage risks at major U.S. gas stations, uncovering that at least 10% of pipeline compressor stations faced serious threats of shortages. These stations were deemed vulnerable to significant energy supply outages. Sean Smiley, a doctoral candidate in engineering and public policy at CMU involved in the research, emphasized that addressing this issue should be a top priority, requiring immediate attention. However, the lack of regulatory oversight over the gas transmission system has contributed to a limited understanding of the potential consequences of system failure. This knowledge gap underscores the need for comprehensive regulatory measures to ensure the resilience and stability of the gas transmission infrastructure. The findings from Carnegie Mellon University serve as a wake-up call, highlighting the urgent need for proactive measures to strengthen the reliability of gas pipelines and mitigate the risks of widespread outages. Safeguarding the energy supply chain becomes paramount to maintaining the smooth functioning of critical infrastructure and preventing disruptions that could have far-reaching consequences for transportation, business, and daily life. The dynamics in the diesel market have taken a sharp turn, indicating a significant economic downturn is already unfolding. Ed Morse, the global head of commodities research at Citigroup, highlighted that the looming prospects of an economic slowdown and a deep recession were crippling oil demand. This sentiment is mirrored in the continuous weakening of U.S. diesel demand throughout the year, as freight and industrial activities have slowed down amidst higher interest rates and dwindling consumer demand for goods. Refiners are beginning to observe a decline in diesel demand, influenced by persistent inflationary pressures. Transportation and logistics firms are already feeling the effects of a freight recession, with hundreds of smaller trucking companies succumbing to bankruptcy. The challenging freight environment is characterized by deflationary price pressures combined with inflationary cost pressures, creating a precarious situation for the industry. J.B. Hunt President Shelley Simpson openly acknowledged the freight recession during an earnings call, stating that many small trucking companies are likely to go out of business. The diesel market is experiencing a significant shift, with diesel futures plunging to a 15-month low. Concerns about diesel shortages that emerged last autumn have now been replaced by fears of weak diesel demand stemming from an ailing economy. However, there has been a notable drawdown in U.S. distillate inventories, which have declined significantly in recent weeks, hovering around 11% below the 5-year average for this time of year. Concurrently, imports into the United States have continued to plummet due to decreased freight activity as financially strained Americans curb their spending habits. The magnitude of the freight market slowdown is exemplified by the sharp decline in container imports at major U.S. gateways such as Los Angeles and Long Beach, which are vital hubs for trade with Asia. These ports reported a 38% decrease in container imports in February compared to the previous year, marking the lowest level since the pandemic and subsequent lockdowns hit the United States in March 2022. Container imports serve as a precursor to trucking activity for goods destined for consumers, making this downturn a cause for concern. The drastic slowdown in the freight market serves as evidence that we are heading toward a crisis that surpasses our initial expectations. In the short term, Americans should brace themselves for more unpleasant surprises at the pump. Looking ahead, we should all prepare for unprecedented outages and a downturn unlike anything we've ever witnessed before. The looming challenges in the diesel market and freight industry signal a turbulent period ahead, demanding resilience and adaptability to navigate through these uncertain times.